Crimes that make news one day can quickly fade from the headlines. KPIX5's Devin Fehely on the detectives who are hoping to bring new attention to the victims and make a cold case breakthrough.
Typically, as a case gets older, the investigation grows colder, but the Santa Clara Police Department is trying to make sure the justice delayed for the victims and their families isn't ultimately justice denied.
This is how detectives want to remember Neil Henry as he lived, but it's an image of how the 74-year-old died, bruised and battered and bloodied on the floor of the liquor store where he worked and was ambushed by robbers on a January morning in 2003 that haunts them to this day.
Suspects assaulted Neil to the point where he was hospitalized from the crime scene. He ended up dying several days later in the hospital.
The police department considered Neil one of its own. He volunteered for years in the city's crossing guard program. Detectives collected boxfuls of evidence and interviews, but eventually, despite their best efforts, the case and investigation grew old and cold.
Especially having what we would consider one of our own, a volunteer here at the police department who, provided great service. It definitely hit home.
Neil is one of a half dozen cold case murders the Santa Clara Police Department is trying once again to solve. Is this a search for justice for these people that were killed?
Absolutely. It's a search for justice for them and for their families who are still alive.
Police have posted photos online of the victims, like Matthew Flores, and details of the crime. Flores was gunned down in the parking lot of Applied Materials in March of 1994. The appeal is to the public for help, not so much to jog their memory, but to prick their conscience.
We always have these cold cases assigned to someone. They're never not assigned. The actual physical files of these cases still live in our investigations division.
The police department says they were able to solve about a half dozen murder cases over the past decade with help from a federal grant. They say in those cases there was physical evidence that helped to point them in the direction of the suspect. In Santa Clara, Devin Fehely, KPIX5.